An unlikely hero helped the Edmonton Oilers get past the St. Louis Blues last night in Missouri. All that and more today on Oilers Digest as we recap that one and preview, yes, the Oilers' second half of a back-to-back. We preview tonight's game against the Chicago Blackhawks. But if you haven't subscribed already, folks, make sure you have done so. Yes, we are so close to 2,700 subscribers on the way to 3K. Of course, hit that button down below. But let's get right into it without further ado. 28 sings the blues. Yes, 28 referring to Connor Brown of the Edmonton Oilers got the overtime winner last night from Connor McDavid as the Oilers took this one 3-2 over the Blues, and Philip Broberg in Dylan Holloway. Of course, McDavid getting the last laugh. First period had no score, but it was the quickest first period I've ever seen the Oilers play in quite some time. But in the second period, Connor McDavid remembered how to shoot the puck, and he got the Oilers on the board, making it 1-0. And halfway through the third period there, it was 2-1 Blues off of goals from Jordan Kyrou. A bit of a weird rebound sitting in the crease next to Stuart Skinner that Jordan Kyrou banged in, and Colton Parayko from a very nice pass from Robert Thomas, I'll have to admit, making it 2-1 Blues. Robert Thomas, after that 2-1 goal, almost made it 3-1, but missed a wide open cage, and that could have potentially sunk the Edmonton Oilers. But Leon Draisaitl with the net pulled, very reminiscent of Saturday night, but this time it counts, tying the game at 2. And in overtime, you can see there Connor Brown, this is his first ever career overtime goal in the NHL, and he hasn't played in overtime with the Oilers, I don't think ever in his Oiler tenure, but he got the winner from Connor McDavid and Evan Bouchard. And of course, sitting on the doorstep there, Connor Brown was at the top of the screen. But you can see there, Connor McDavid turning Dylan Holloway inside out, and his last line of defense was Philip Broberg. But Broberg forgot all about number 28, Connor Brown. So yes, Connor Brown, his first goal, and I do want to say 22 games, getting the win for the Oilers last night. And he had this to say. He said, "I just tried to get open, and it worked." So yeah, that was a nice little treat for me. I think I might have been cheating for defense a little bit in overtimes in the past, so it was nice to get out there and look for a goal, but hopefully not the last. And you kind of want to see that from the Oilers, uh, in this day and age, just to be a little more selfish. Of course, last night there were many opportunities, and not just last night, but throughout the season where they'd have opportunities to shoot, and they would just go for that one more pass and eventually kill their own play. So it's nice for Connor Brown to get up there, join the rush in overtime, and get the overtime winner. Of course, shots on goal 38-22 in favor of the Oilers. So the Oilers making sure Jordan Binnington had quite a busy night, but Stuart Skinner not so much with only 20 saves, but still got the win in a few key saves there in the second period. Of course, there was a breakaway from Jake Neighbors in the second period, but Stuart Skinner shut the door. St. Louis going 1-for-1 on their power play. A bit of a weak call on Mattias Ekholm that led to the Kyrou goal. Of course, Mattias Ekholm laying a very nice check on Braden Shen, who tipped the puck into the Oilers' zone, but the refs thought he didn't touch that and thought it was interference. But Oilers got the win. What can I say? But they was going 1-for-3 on their power plays as well. But you can see there the Oilers dominated in the face-off dot. Of course, St. Louis winning 30 compared to Edmonton's 17. And of course, everyone just throttled on the dot. Leon Draisaitl with only a 43% face-off percentage. Connor McDavid 42. Noah Philp going 1-for-3, and Connor Brown losing 2 of his only face-offs there. So of course, it's not too often you see the Oilers get dominated on the dot like this, so I'm not too worried. But still, when you see a stat like that with the other team winning 30 draws compared to your own team winning 17, a bit of an outlier, something to again not worry about, but very very interesting. Just looking at the hockey stat card here, everyone defensively, solid night there. Evan Bouchard, you can see they're taking the reins and taking the top of the chart here, sort of silencing the haters from the past couple games. Of course, your big time players doing big time things with Evan Bouchard, Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, Mattias Ekholm returning from his illness, Connor Brown being up there, Zach Hyman. But when it goes to from top to bottom here, I don't think anybody had a relatively bad game, but there were at times I could see the Oilers just trying to hit the snooze button there and, just sort of lazily get through play. And that's what led to the 2 St. Louis goals there on their one on their power play goal and the Colton Parayko goal that pretty much got through the whole team and found Colton Parayko at the point for a one-timer. But Stuart Skinner, like I said, a bit of a quiet game for him. 20 saves, 909. Of course, a 909 in a win. Yeah, they don't ask how, but Stuart Skinner, after two decent game. Well, no, I don't want to say decent game against the Toronto Maple Leafs, but the Detroit game, I felt like the Oilers should have won. Toronto game, yeah, he could have had some of those back, so it's nice for him to get a bounce back last night against the St. Louis Blues. But like I said, the Oilers dominating the first period there with a 71% Corsi for, 80% Fenwick for, and then in the second period, of course, sort of let off the gas, which is quite ironic because the Oilers are the best second period team in the National Hockey League, and of course they let the Blues get even in the third period. Well, they even let St. Louis take the lead in the third period before Edmonton tied it up with the Leon Draisaitl tying goal and the Brown winner in overtime. So again, it wasn't the worst game from the Edmonton Oilers, but they are prone to stretches of play in the second or third period where they just take their foot off the gas and they let the other team even tie the game or even take the lead or even just, take the lead and the Oilers have no way of getting back into the game. So it'd be nice to see them tighten that up. But when it comes to Leon Draisaitl, even he recognizes that, in the second and third, they could have been a lot better. He says, I think it was a little bit of an up and down kind of game for us. I thought we were all right in the first, pretty good actually, and then not good in the second and gave up a couple in the third. But it's a fun way to get 2 points, which is all that matters. I think we dipped a little bit there for a little while. It wasn't our best, but obviously good teams find ways to win hockey games at all times. To come back from that obviously shows a lot of character, and that's good from Leon Draisaitl because, of course, he does not mince his words. If things are going wrong, things are going wrong. But, of course, he's very happy where the team is at, and I'm even happy where the team is at on the road. Tuesday's victory was the latest road success for the Oilers, who are now 6-2-0 away from Rogers Place since January 4th and have a record of 13-5-2 over their last 20 games on the road in someone else's building. Edmonton ranks third in the NHL this season with a road point percentage to .667 from a record of 15-7-2, and they will continue to be on the road tonight with the second half of a back-to-back against the Chicago Blackhawks. Yes, they face Connor McDavid and the Chicago Blackhawks at the United Center. A bit of a late one tonight, 8:30 Central, 7:30 Mountain in Chicago, which is weird because, of course, Chicago also in the Central Time Zone. You got to love those American TNT doubleheaders there where, the time they say the game starts, it never starts. There's always some sort of delay, but the Oilers and Hawks. And looking at the Oilers lineup tonight, that hasn't been officially released yet, but you can see there it might look something similar to last night's lineup here with Draisaitl, McDavid, and Perry, Arvidsson, Ryan, Nugent-Hopkins, and Zach Hyman, Jeff Skinner, and Noah Phillip, who came in for Adam Henrique, who is dealing with an illness, so we'll have to see if Adam Henrique does draw back in for Noah Phillip there on that third line, and then Vasily Podkolzin and Matisse Janmark in Connor Brown. I thought Jeff Skinner had a really, really solid game last night. He's really rounding out his defensive side of the game. He took away a goal from Jordan Kyrou in the first period when Kyrou, all he had to do was, tap it in on the other side of where he scored his goal in the third period. But Jeff Skinner really loving his play recently on the back end here. Matthias Ekholm in Evan Bouchard, Darnell Nurse, and potentially John Klingberg. Of course, the Oilers might try to load manage him and put Troy Stetcher in his spot for now. Of course, the back-to-backs. The Oilers also dealing with an illness, so that is a challenge in itself. And then Brett Kulak and Ty Emberson on the back end, with Calvin Pickard getting the start and goal tonight. Just looking at the second last place Chicago Blackhawks tonight, of course, hasn't been the strongest team in Chicago this season, but Landon Slager, Connor Bedard, and Ryan Donato, Teuvo Teravainen, Jason Dickinson, Ilya Mikheyev, Nick Foligno, Frank Nazar, and Tyler Bertuzzi, and then Pat Maroon, Lucas Reichel, and Craig Smith, who does have the health symbol by him, so probably a game-time decision here for the Hawks tonight on the back end. You're very veteran-laden heavy here. Alec Martinez and Seth Jones, Alex Vlasic and Connor Murphy, and Ethan Del Mastro and TJ Brody. And getting the start for them tonight is Arvid Soderblom here for the Blackhawks. The goals against average of 2.89 and the save percentage of 909. So very respectable stats for the team that he is on. That is not very strong in the standings, but the additions haven't made much of a difference thus far for the Blackhawks with all the veteran names that they have, TJ Brody, Alec Martinez, as they do sit 31st in the league with a 16-31-5 record. They fired head coach Luke Richardson back in December with an 8-16-2 record, and they pretty much had the exact same record, and they've gone 8-15-3 since replacing him with Anders Soren. But the Oilers cannot take the Chicago Blackhawks lightly, as the Blackhawks have taken 3 out of a possible 4 points so far in the season series. Of course, the Blackhawks taking it 5-2 in Edmonton at the start of the season, and the Oilers, they were down 3-1 to the Blackhawks on January 11th, but fired back to win it 4-3 in overtime off the stick of Zach Hyman. And finally, the third game of the season series against the Central Division opponent is tonight at the United Center, and should be a good one. I mean, the Blackhawks have always played the Oilers tough, no matter where they are in the standings. You know, it doesn't matter if they had like Kane and Taves or Bouchard, and insert other name here next to Bouchard, as it's always seeming to be a rotating trio of names next to Bouchard. But again, should be an interesting one. It's also a late one tonight, especially on a weekday, which I am not a fan of, but nonetheless, I am still excited for it. Let me know what you thought about last night's game and your thoughts towards tonight's game heading into the Four Nations face-off. After tonight, the Oilers only have one more game at home before heading off for the international break. So enjoy the game tonight. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe and take care. Have a great rest of the day. I'm Matt.